Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Hooty Hoo KSU football podcast. My name is Griffin Nichols. I'm your host. Please like and subscribe. Leave your ratings, 5 stars, I hope. Check out the Etsy store for all sorts of fun deals on shirts, bumper stickers, hats, whatever you want. All proceeds go back to the store, go back to the show, and support more content. Here we are. We are on Monday. We've got a 7 p.m. kickoff at Pitbull Stadium. Mr. Worldwide up in here. Tomorrow at 7 o'clock against the FIU Panthers. So, real fast, just to kind of go over a few things with this game. KSU is favored on the road by 3.5 points. We talked about this before, that a neutral site usually gives you let me try again. Home field advantage usually gains you 3 points. So add 3 points to a spread, and that's what Vegas would see as the neutral site score. So if this game was on a neutral site, Kennesaw State would be favored by 6.5. But they're not. They're at Pitbull Stadium. And they are favored. Kennesaw State is favored by 3.5 points. The over-under on the game is 49.5. So, mid-20s kind of game for both teams is what Vegas kind of sees a little bit. So we'll see. Gosh, what a crazy week or so it's been since we've talked last. So I went and FIU was playing Western Kentucky last week. Let me try this again. I went back and watched my last week's podcast, and I was definitely very excited about where the Owls were and how well they're playing. Yeah, there might be some hyperbole in there. I think I brushed this game off as a guaranteed victory, and that is a mistake. So I went back and so I apologize for that. I just got real excited with 4 in a row, and now first place in Conference USA. What? That's right, we are in first place in Conference USA. Why? Glad you asked. Because FIU beat Western Kentucky last week. Of course they did. And it wasn't even close, 25-6. Western Kentucky did not score in the second half. So I watched that game. Kind of did some self-scouting of FIU prior to the Kennesaw State game. And they looked good. They looked really good. Where was this earlier in the year? But, I'm going to get into that in just a second. But, it's just so funny with how things change so rapidly. Like I said, I watched this game. I watched all the Conference USA games. And next thing you know, it's us and Jack State who are the only undefeated teams in Conference USA in conference play. And because we have more wins overall than Jack State, we are in first place in Conference USA, which is incredible. I mean, just amazing. I just think that's awesome. And it's still very exciting. I mean, it's great. It really is great. So anyway, started looking at this game a little bit after watching last week. And I think that this one's pretty straightforward, honestly. Let me kind of go back and go through what FIU's been through this year. They started the year off. They have a new coach, Willie Simmons. He was at Florida A&M, and he came in and did well there, and then came in and took over this program last year. This is his first season. Similar to Mac. And he's done well. I mean, he did well at Florida A&M, and and he's doing just fine with FIU. Starts off the season with a 42-9 victory over Bethune-Cookman. It's not a great team. They go on the road and play at Penn State. They get shut out 34-0 against Penn State, who has already fired their coach. They play FAU, Florida Atlantic, and they win 38-28. They then go and play Delaware and lose to Delaware 38-16. They then play UConn and lose 51-10. And finally, like I said last week, they played Western Kentucky 25. They beat Western Kentucky last week 25-6. So what I took away with from last week, I mean, first of all, I thought Western Kentucky is probably the best team in the conference. And so, but, I also watched them play the week before, needed a shanked field goal against Delaware to win that game. So, maybe I read that part wrong. I don't know if Western Kentucky, because they were at home, was just off? Did they underestimate FIU? Or was FIU just the better team? That's a tough one. It really is. It just seemed like, first of all, this running back, Keyshawn Owens, he had 195 yards last week against Western Kentucky and a touchdown. He's really good. Really like him. Really good running back. Thick, like low center of gravity, thick, fast. He's a good player. So they are number 40. FIU is the 40th best rushing offense in the country. So they're going to run the ball both with their quarterback, Keon Jenkins, and their running back, Keyshawn Owens. That's what they're going to do. They're going to run the ball. Even though they did have some success passing last week, Jenkins had 185 yards through the air and a touchdown. So basically, what this is going to come down to is Kennesaw State defending the rush. There it is. That's what's going to happen. Can they stop the run? If they can, Kennesaw State wins this game. If they can't, it's going to be a long night. Now, obviously, there's more to it than just that, but in watching the Louisiana Tech game, again, that right side of the defensive line is going to get attacked. So pay attention to that. Pay attention to FIU going to the right side of the defensive line. I'm curious to see if there's been any adjustments made, because once you put something like that on film, now, you're it's out there for everybody to see. And so FIU, if I can see it, you can see it. FIU's coaches can absolutely see it. So we're going to see if those adjustments were made. Hopefully they have been, or they're giving some more support on that side. Defense has been great. The defense for Kennesaw State, I keep saying, has just been great. I mean, they've been really, really strong. That 4-down stop to end the game against Louisiana Tech was incredible. They have it in them for sure. But here's the thing. Be the first road game with a victory. They have not won on the road yet since they've been in Division I. That's important to remember. In fact, one of Kennesaw State's 2 wins was last year, 28-27 against FIU. FIU was a 10-point favorite and lost to Kennesaw State at Kennesaw State, 28-27. Other win that came last year was against Liberty, which was the upset for the season for sure for Conference USA. But those were both at home. We know that they traveled to Wake Forest, lost 10-9, got blown out by Indiana 56-9 on the road, and then have won all their home games. So the last real piece of the puzzle here for KSU is going to be on the road, being on the road, winning on the road. Now, they tick that box. I don't know what's going to happen this year. It's getting out of control a little bit. So we will see kind of what that is. But again, what you're wanting to look for is just, can we stop the run? They're not a great passing team. He can throw the ball, but they're not going to beat you throwing it. They're going to beat you running it. So stop the run, load the box, make them beat you throwing it, and then good luck to them stopping our offense as well. I mean, that's the other part of this equation is we are now capable of having a shootout with somebody. So, I mean, who knows who's playing quarterback? It's just a strange situation, but both have played well. So, who knows? I guess we'll figure that out tomorrow night, but we can definitely score. They did shut Western Kentucky out in the second half. Like I said, Western Kentucky just looked out of sorts and just sloppy last week when I was watching that game. So I don't know. I don't know what to expect from this defense. I mean, I look at some of these scores and how many points they're giving up. 34 to Penn State, who at that time was just a predominantly running team and really was, I'm sure they had second stringers coming in, third stringers coming in as the game progressed because they just weren't moving the ball on that defense. Give up 38 or 28 to FAU. They did win that game 38-28, still 28 points. Gave up 38 against Delaware, gave up 51 to UConn. That's the one that really stands out to me, is the UConn game. That's a lot of points to give up to UConn. So, I don't know. And then shuts down Western Kentucky at Western Kentucky last week. So who knows? But what I do know is that there are two things to pay attention to. One, Kennesaw State is now in first place in Conference USA, which is the first time that's happened since they joined the conference. That's the first thing. Okay, so now everybody's chasing you. Everybody's going to give you their best shot because you are the top team in the conference. So there's pressure that goes along with that. Additionally, you're going on the road. So again, there's pressure with that when you go on the road. Volume of the crowd, etc. It's in Miami. It's probably going to be pretty lit. For I don't know if that even is the right term, but it's definitely going to be loud. I think it's Vice Night, if I'm not mistaken. So expect a lot of neon colors in the stands. That's on purpose. And I think also FIU's colors will be kind of a neon color. So I guess we'll see what that looks like tomorrow for Vice Night at Pitbull Stadium. Oh my goodness. But no, I think that I think that's a real thing, though. I think playing on the road, being in first place, showing teams that you're capable of winning, they take you serious. You know, you're coming into their house, you're in first place, they're the underdog at home. Now, remember how motivating that is for Kennesaw State. Their last couple wins was they were the underdogs at home. So you're coming to our stadium and you're going to beat us? No, not in front of our fans. You know, that's kind of the attitude that will happen. So you got to kind of beat that out of them. You know, everybody can talk all they want, but once they kick the ball and people start hitting each other, that's going to shake it out real fast. So if Kennesaw State continues to play with the fire and energy that they've been playing, especially on defense, they'll be just fine. I've looked at a lot of different previews for this game. I've seen all sorts of scores for this game. I was on FIU's fans, kind of like what this is, right? But for FIU, and he was saying 28-14, 28-17 FIU with the win. Okay. You know, again, it's just one of those things where you've got to be smart enough to say that you like a team, but you also are reasonable enough to say, okay, we're not going to blow everybody out by 50 points. It's just not how it's going to work. That's not this program. So what about this game? This game, you know, I've been hovering with that 24-21 score the last couple of weeks. Like, I did not expect that to happen last week with the blowout. Both these teams blew out who they were playing. So it's actually not an easy game to pick. I'm going to say 24-17 Kennesaw State. That's what I think. I think the defense is good enough to stop the run. I think that Coach Simmons for FIU had also said that the defense of Kennesaw State, they're always just in their base defense. There's nothing special that they do as far as they just stay in their base defense. That's not true, first of all. But, you know, great. I'm glad you think that. So let's show a lot more then. And we'll show how dominant this base defense can be. That does help, by the way. Thank you for that, Coach. I appreciate the motivational speak to the defensive side of the ball. So, yeah, we're going to see. We're going to see if Kennesaw State can kind of play with a little bit more weight on their shoulder, if they can handle the moment, if they can handle being in first place and being a team that other teams are now targeting. Yeah, we're going to find out real fast, because changing from the underdog role at all times to now you're a favorite and you're the team that should win, that's not easy to do. I mean, that's a hurdle. And playing on the road and getting your win on the road, that's a hurdle. So let's see what this team has mentally. Can they handle this pressure? Can they handle on the road? I don't know. We're going to find out together. But I'm excited about it. I really am. I'm curious to see how they respond to this. And I know when I was looking at the schedule last week, I put this down as a win. I don't know. I don't know if it is a win or not. I certainly hope it is, because I'm pretty confident that UTEP comes to town the following week. Let me confirm that. Yep. The following Tuesday, and that should be a win. So to be able to become bowl eligible in your first 6 games in Conference USA would be unbelievable. So that would be outstanding. So that's the goal. That's been the goal the whole time, as you know, if you've listened to this. So let's get that win tomorrow. Let's get bowl eligible next week. I would love to see it. So 24-17. Again, thank you for the support of the show. I really do appreciate it. I am going to shift over here in just a second to just overall college football. But please like and subscribe. I really appreciate all the support. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the comments that you leave. You can find this on all platforms as far as YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or X. TikTok. If you want to just hear the audio version, you've got Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it, it is there. So please like and subscribe. Follow us, do whatever you got to do. Just trying to get the show out there to everybody. And again, the more positive reviews, the more star ratings, if you will, the higher the star ratings, the more attention the podcast gets, the more successful it can be, the larger it goes out to other people. So thank you so much. We were definitely just trying to build something here, slowly but surely. And I hope you're enjoying it. You know, I always appreciate the feedback. I try to respond to everybody who leaves a comment or anything. Just say how much I appreciate it. Thank you for your opinion, even if I disagree with it. It'll always be like that. I'm just doing this for fun, as a hobby, if you will. I'm enjoying this season a great deal. I'm enjoying doing these podcasts weekly with y'all, or bi-weekly. That's incorrect, by the way. No, that's right. No, that's incorrect. It's twice a week, we'll just say. We'll just say it's not being fancy. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I hope you guys are doing the same. It's just been a great season to follow this team and watch them grow underneath this new leadership. Shifting to college football. What is my thought about college football? You know, it's funny. I was going to do this podcast Sunday, but I was tired, which is pathetic to say just because you're sitting down and talking to a camera, but for 30 minutes. But I was tired. I stayed up late to watch that Florida State game and ended at 2:30. Woo, that was rough football right there. That was a late night to watch bad football. Florida State lost to Stanford. That coach on the hot seat, the university came out and said that they will keep him till the end of the season. So Mike Norvell is still at Florida State. But it's funny because the day before, earlier that day, Billy Napier at Florida beats Mississippi State on a crazy interception, and they fire him on Sunday. So that guy loses, he wins, and they fire him. Mike Norvell loses, and they keep him on for the end of the year. So that's fascinating. The Hugh Freeze, that guy's about done at Auburn. Franklin already, as we mentioned earlier, got canned a few weeks ago from Penn State. We know about like the Virginia Techs, Gundy at Oklahoma State. So many turnovers already this season with coaches. And then what does that do? You know, as far as, okay, so Florida opens. So let's say Lane Kiffin goes to Florida because that's what is being rumored. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. But okay, Lane Kiffin goes to Florida. Who goes to Ole Miss? What domino effect does that have? So a lot of coaches getting fired, and it seems it's just, again, it's like adapting to this new world of college football where you can't wait around anymore. You know, it's like you got to get your ducks in a row early on. But, you know, something else that crossed my mind that I think is changing is all these coaching contracts. You know, these coaches were making millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, and players weren't getting paid officially. And coaches could just leave. And they would get money if they left. They would get bought out or something like that. They get a ton of money. Or you fire them and you pay them $75 million like Jimbo Fisher's. Franklin, $54 million for getting fired at Penn State. Napier, I think, was like $25-30 million from Florida. Norvell, when he does get fired, will be in the mid-50s when he gets fired from Florida State. And the thing about it is that these universities, they can't do that much more. You know, they can't keep paying these types of amounts of money with these coaches when it's really not becoming the coaches where this sport is going. It's the players. It's the players that you're paying, and the money you have for the players is what is going to dictate how good your team is. So it's almost like we've got to start thinking about college football as more of the NFL. When you think about head coaches in the NFL, now you may know your head coach. You may know the famous coaches that have been around for years and years, but I couldn't tell you who the coach of the Cincinnati Bengals is or the Browns. You know, I couldn't tell you, what do you think, who else? Seattle's coach? I have no idea. There's a lot of NFL coaches I have no idea about. Why? Because they're not as high profile as the players. They don't make nearly as much as the players. And that's a key point to remember. Kind of pay attention to that going into college football. So I feel like something is coming as far as this shift. to where universities are going to have to get together and start saying that we are not going to pay these coaches these buyouts and these absorbent salaries year after year after year, when it's not about the coaches as much as it's about the players. Gone are the days now of a Saban, Paterno, Bowden, Spurrier, whoever is your Mount Rushmore of head coaches in college football, Bear Bryant, Bo Schembechler, Woody Hayes. I mean, these famous names that players would go to that school to play for that coach. Those days are done now. Those coaches are no longer here. Maybe Kirby in Athens right now is definitely on his way. Ryan Day at Ohio State, maybe. But remember, that guy, if he didn't win the national title last year, was going to get fired, which is wild. It's just one of those things where I think that universities need to come together and be on the same page with these coaches so it can't be used against you. So, they're bidding, Florida's bidding $10 million for Lane Kiffin. Florida State's saying 12. Florida, do you want to go to 13? It's like that's what's happening right now, where I think we need to get to a place where there are bonuses for success. There's bonuses for success. With like a lot of jobs, if you do your job well, you get a bonus. So why can't we do the same thing with coaching? Your base salary is $5 million a year. Pretty good. $5 million a year. If you win your conference, let's say it's an additional $2 to $3 million. Outstanding, or make the playoffs, $2 to $3 million. Okay? If you were to go and win the national title, that's another $3 million. You just made $11 million. Congratulations. But you had to earn that $11 million. You don't get $11 million for going 2-10, 5-6, 6-6. You don't get that when you don't do a good job. Getting paid $11 million for having a losing record should not be okay. And not being able to get rid of someone who has losing records because their buyout is so much and it will break the university, that is also not okay. So we have got to start changing that a little bit to where with all this, because the coaching carousel this year is going to be wild. The transfer portal has been dropped to 1 month. Starts in December, I think the week after the championship games. It ends at the beginning of January. I think I have that right. So that's the one transfer portal. Then you have the recruiting and all that stuff as always. But it just seems to be that it is going to a player specific sport like the NFL without a salary cap, it seems like. So, if I'm a coach, I'll be like, listen, you don't have to pay me much. Pay me a couple $1 million, right? I want all that money to go to the players because I know if I get the players, now I have an argument to be made that you should be giving me more money because of what I'm producing on the field. And I think that we have to start going in that direction because just the coaches' salaries and the buyouts being held over our heads all the time at all universities is ridiculous, and it just needs to stop. It just needs to stop. Coaches have made enough money in college for a long, long time. I'm not saying they don't do a great job and they work hard. Of course they do. It is nonstop all day long. But like anybody who is watching this, myself, anyone in this world who has a job, you applied for the job. You knew what you were getting. Now it's your choice to work that job or to do something else. But you applied for it. If you didn't want the work, if you didn't want the responsibility or the stress or whatever, shouldn't have applied for it. So it goes, I feel that way about these coaches as well. Is you want to work at a big-time university? Okay, there's going to be a lot of pressure on you to win. If you can't win, well, then you don't need to be at the big-time university, right? You should be at a smaller school where there's less pressure. I just think that it's just so funny to come on with this podcast in the last year and just how much has changed just in the last year. It's going to keep changing and changing and changing for the next few years until we get to 2030. And I think that's the moment where the change happens the most, where you have two super conferences, the Big Ten, the SEC, and then you have a whole separate division, which are all the other teams. And I really believe that is what is going to take place. And so it's in your best interest to be a part of those conferences. or you're going to miss out on some money for sure, some funding. So we shall see. We shall see, but it has to get reined in. It is a wild sport right now. But here's another thing I don't know if you're noticing. 4 of the top 10 teams last week lost. 4 top 10 teams lost last week. Every single week, we are having multiple upsets. Florida State, I brought up earlier, 17.5-point favorite over Stanford. Lost by 7. There was another one. There was another big one that I can't remember. I mean, the Louisville game over Miami, absolutely. I don't think it was the Texas Tech, Arizona State game. I can't remember right now. Watched a lot of football on Saturday, but there was another massive spread that the team who was favored lost, and it was just like, wow, that's crazy. And I mean, listen, Vegas is really good at what they do, and so they don't make many mistakes. So I mean, they're struggling to keep up with it as well. But every single week, you're having more and more upsets every week. And why is that? It's got to be, as I said last week, is simply that the talent is being spread across more schools now. Instead of it being consolidated into Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, Michigan a few years ago, I guess. Instead of it being just consolidated with those teams, Oregon, now you're taking it and you're spreading it out. So these teams like in Alabama underneath Saban, Georgia even, what you're seeing is that when someone gets hurt on their team during a game and they have to bring a backup in, there is a difference. There are years past where one 5-star drops off, another 5-star walks right in. Next man up is what they would say, but I mean, more like next superstar up because they were so deep, because you wanted to play for that team. Now, you could be a great player, great defensive lineman on a team like a Georgia, let's say, but you're not getting playing time because the guy in front of you is starting and you're not getting enough playing time. So now someone's like, hey, listen, we think you're great. We love the talent. You can start for us right away. Why don't you come on over? You'll be on television. We'll get you out there so that you can, fulfill your dream of going to the NFL. And you don't have to sit behind this guy for 2 years. You can just go and do it. So I think that is, what is taking place. I don't think that is what's taking place, why you see such an equal amount of teams just knocking each other off week after week after week. I mean, what was it? Washington State, should have beat Virginia at Virginia. Now, Virginia just beat Florida State a few weeks back. Not that that's anything, but Virginia's, is like the first or second best team, is the second best team in the ACC according to record right now. And they needed a safety to beat Washington State, which is crazy. That should have never happened. It was in Virginia. It's a really fun sport, but I have no idea what's going to happen week after week after week. For the first time in a long time, Georgia looks gettable as far as, where their offense is. Their defense especially is what really stands out. Their defense is not what it normally has been year after year after year. Now they're winning. That's a well-coached team. It's a team that plays hard, that does not give up, that just wins, right? I mean, they just get a win. But it's not this overwhelming force like it was in years past. None of these teams are. I mean, there's no one, maybe Ohio State, but that one's tough to say. I mean, we really don't know. And we're not going to know until we get to the playoffs because that schedule's pretty light. So we'll find out what Ohio State's all about. But yeah, that's the only team that I see just, dominating teams, but specifically on the defense side of the ball, no one can score on them, it seems like. So it's fun. It's definitely fun. I mean, one of the things that I really like about this year is the potential of chaos. I don't know about you. I don't know what team you root for or anything like that other than KSU. If you root for another team. But, if you're not a fan of Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, Clemson for a period of time there, you're just left out of the party. Left of the party every year. It's always the same 4 teams, every single year. It's the same teams. It just starts getting kind of boring after a while because you're like, oh, another national title for Alabama. Oh, another national title for Alabama. Right now, Georgia Tech is number 7 in the country. Vanderbilt is ranked number 10 in the country. That is nuts. Indiana is number 2 in the country. I mean, what is happening? It just cracks me up. And that guy, Signetti, just got paid too. That guy's making $11 million now, $11 million a year now at Indiana. He's like, no, I don't want to go to Penn State. I'll stay here in Indiana. Oh, okay, cool. So, just a wild sport right now, but I love it. And I heard this was last week. It started last week on Monday. Was the next time we don't have football, I think it's like November 26th or something like that. So there's football on every single night, whether pro or college, all the way until November 26th. So enjoy this time because this is the best time. October is an amazing month for playoff baseball, for sports in general. NBA starts, but college football especially. We just keep going and going and going. And before you know it, it'll be over. So enjoy it while you can. And I will talk to you on probably Wednesday or Thursday, depending on what the week looks like after this game tomorrow night. Please support the Owls. Check them out. ESPN tomorrow. ESPN2 tomorrow. Sorry. Is that right? I think that is right. But again, prime time, only game in town. Get a win. Put your name out there. Let's get bowl eligible. Go Owls. I will see you very soon. Have a good one, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.